Whoa! What's going on, everybody? Aaron Tremblay here. I have a little tip for you that I use all the time, and I hope it is just as useful for you. Let's check it out. All right, so the tip that I want to share with you guys, I know that when I found it, it was time-saving, life-changing amazingness. It's a little thing on your camera. Pretty much every new camera has it, and it's custom functions. So if you look on the little dial, the top of your camera here, might look a little different on yours, but there's little C1, C2, and C3 on the top of mine here. What I want to do is explain how I set them and how it's most useful for me. And I want to explain how to use it for yourself so that you can get the most out of your camera and be fast. A lot of times, you know, run and gun, you don't want to spend a lot of time changing your settings. You want to get that shot. And that can go for anybody. The biggest thing that I use it for is going to be video. There's 3 particular scenarios that I'm always shooting in. Now, these might be different for you. I'm not saying that my ways are right by any means. It's just how I have it set up. Find what works best for you and run with that. There's a couple of different things that I'm primarily shooting. I'm doing vlogging, but I'm also gonna do some like run and gun type shooting, just capturing the moment. And I also do a lot of high frame rate or slow-mo video recording. I have 3 setups for those exact scenarios. What I love most about that is the C1, C2, and C3 function. As soon as I turn the dial to one of those, it's exactly where I left it off. So what I wanna do is tell you the 3 things that I set for C1, C2, and C3. C1, I have set 24 frame per second 4K. Every time I turn that dial to C1, no matter what it was in, what mode it was in already before that, it's going to go 4K quality. It's gonna go to 24 frames a second, which also means that my shutter speed is at 1/50th of a second, because you always want that shutter speed to be double your frame rate. And then I have my aperture set at 2.8, because most of my lenses are gonna do at least 2.8. Some of them go down to 1.4, but if I'm at 2.8 and I put a 1.4 lens on there, it's still gonna do 2.8. If I set that at 1.4 and I put a 2.8 lens on there, it's not gonna be able to hit that. The argument there is you can put it at 1.4 if you really wanna shoot wide open, and then your camera will just adjust up because it knows that lens can't do 1.4, so it's gonna auto-correct itself up to 2.8. I set it at 2.8, that's usually where I am, that's usually the lenses that I'm using, kind of like this 16-35 here. Do what's best for you. Honestly, there's no right or wrong answer to this. Do whatever is best for your shooting style and for whatever you're trying to capture and whatever look you're going for, set it to that way. A couple other things I want to point out is ISO as well. I always set my ISO to auto. Now that's just the initial setup. So if I'm run and gun and I want to flip to 4K, there's something I'm seeing and it's gonna be gone in a second, and I wanna capture that. I wanna be able to flip over to that and have my camera just ready to go. Now, you can set it up where you can have it set at a particular ISO, you know, 640 to 1600. I have it in auto intentionally because then I can just run and gun. So I'm gonna let my camera decide on the ISO for that particular situation, just so that I don't miss that moment. I wanna make sure that when I flip that switch, it's ready to go, all set. Another thing you can set inside there as well is your picture style. You can make it whatever you want to. So C2 real quick, I have that also to 24 frames a second because that's kind of the buttery zone. That's where you wanna be to get the most cinematic. But C2, I have it set to 1080p. That's where I live in for my vlogging or my general purpose shooting because most people can't view in 4K. So it's okay to shoot in 1080. Don't be afraid to shoot 1080. If that's what you have, do it. And then C3, this is the part that I love. So I have that set to 120 frame, slow motion, high frame rate video capture. A couple of things to know, at least on this camera, on the 5D Mark IV, is when you're in 120, it doesn't record audio, and it's also 720p. Now with Canon, 720p still looks pretty good. I'm not afraid of 720p. I wish it had 1080p, but that's something for a camera like this that I'm shooting on, the C200, or for like a 1DX Mark II, those can do much higher quality and those higher frame rate. I love those slow-mo, those cinematic slow-mo shots. One of my favorite things to do by far. What you're gonna do is you can go in any mode, any function on the top here with your dial. This is Canon, again, with your system. It might look a little different, but they should be somewhat close. It should be easy enough to find them. Set up your settings exactly how you want it. So, for example here, I'm gonna set 4K. I'm gonna do 1/50th as far as my shutter speed goes. I'm gonna put my ISO auto, and I'm gonna set my aperture to 2.8. Picture profile, you can set this to whatever you want to. This is just gonna be kind of show for now. We'll leave it where it's at. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna go to your menu option. You're gonna find that register custom functions. I'm gonna register this to C1. This is my 4K 24 frames per second setup. And go through all your menu settings, make sure it's exactly how you want it, and then program it to that C1, C2, or C3. Once you get all three of those set up, I can be over here in manual mode and take a photo. And then all I have to do is switch over to C1, and boom, now I am in 4K mode. And then when I flip over to C2, it's 1080, and then C3, I got my buttery 120 frame a second slow-mo. I'm gonna take a quick clip here and then you guys can see what it looks like because I'll post it up later. Maybe I'll just play it over the top of that. Now remember, this works for photography as well. It's super duper handy for photo and video stuff. Set it up, try it out, give it a shot. Well, everybody, I hope this was really helpful. Don't forget to subscribe if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Please share it out if you think this would be helpful to anybody else. See you next time. Whoa! What's going on, everybody? Aaron Tremblay here with a tip that I hope is as useful for you. Whoa, hey, what's going on, everyone? Aaron Tremblay here with a little tip that I hope is as useful. Why can't I say that?